Okay, so let's build a building. We are going to start with our curve tool, and we're just going to put down points, and this will be the perimeter of our building. I like to do this in the top viewport, so we can just snap to the grid and make things fairly even. We'll just click out a perimeter. I'm going to do mine kind of schemampus and see if it gives us a futuristic fill when we're done. Once you complete the curve, hit enter, and that'll accept it. Then we'll come back into perspective, and it's automatically created this curve object node. And we'll jump in, and that's where we will put all of our adjustments to this. So the first thing that we're going to want to add is going to be a resample node. And what the resample node does is it adds points along our geometry in even increments. So we can change this size here. One thing that you're going to want to do is click resample by polygon edge, and that'll make it so you don't lose the shape of your original geometry. It'll just change the size of the panels that are going up the building, which we'll use for window placement and some other things as we go. So now we have that all set. We will, this is a NURBS curve, and so we need to convert that to polygons. And now we have a polygonal floor plan. After that, we will do a poly extrude, and that will give us walls. I like to keep that as an even or an easy to remember number because we'll be using it later on in some of our expressions and whatnot. So I usually just do one because it makes for really easy math later. And now we have this little building thing. Hooray! Actually, I got two NURBS. And in your curve, you can change the order here, and that'll change how sharp or rounded it makes it. This is kind of the shape that I did earlier. Okay, so now we have a wall. Hooray. We're going to then do a group by range. And then we will set it to primitives. And so you can set this range filter to whatever you want. I'm going to do 3, so that'll give us a little bit of spacing in between one window to the next, but you can change that at any time. and that'll just give us the panels that we're going to put windows on. And so I'm gonna start with 3 because that looks well spaced, I guess. Okay, and I changed the start to 1 just because I had a window right on this edge, and I didn't like that. But that's really doesn't change anything with what you're doing. Okay, so that's better. After that, we're going to add an attribute, wrangle. So wrangles are basically just an input field for you to add coding. We're going to do the group as the group range selection. And we're going to add this little bit of code. We need to create an integer that I'm going to call window point. That window point is going to equal add points 0, which is the geo handle. It just shows what input this is going into. So if my geometry was coming into this middle one, I'd put 1, this one would be 3, and this one would be 4. So this is just saying that it's coming in from there, and I'm taking it from the at key, which is the kind of the local local position of these items. Oh, and this needs to, we're not running over points, we are taking this from primitives. And then semicolon. And then, if I view that, we can see that I've put a point on the middle of each of these. To check your code and like have it run through, you hit Alt-Enter, by the way. So after that, we need to add a vector, or vertex, excuse me. Add vertex, and that's going to come through the same geo handle, and then for each at prim num in our group, and it's going to create a vector for each of the window points. So we'll check that. It does this funky thing, which we don't really care about. The important thing is that you turn on vectors and you see that they're all pointing straight out, which is what we want. 2 windows right next to each other, that's weird. Okay, so that gives us what we want. Then we'll just take a merge and take our not weird geometry and mix it with the geometry that has those points with the vectors in it. And that'll fill in the holes. Perfect. So now we have walls that work. If we come over here, I'm just going to do a box, and this is going to represent the windows. One thing that I recommend doing whenever you're building something like this is on the size and the y-axis. We're going to copy this parameter, copy parameter. And then on the Y center, we're going to paste relative reference and then divide that by 2. And what that does is it puts its bottom edge at the origin instead of having the center of the box at the origin. I just think it looks nicer, and it's useful for other things. So we're going to just shrink that a little bit. And then we're just going to we are going to do one other thing first. We are going to add a group. It's a regular group, and we're going to plug it in after the attribute wrangle. And this will be a group type of points. We're going to name the group window placement. And we are going to enable keep in bounding regions. And so that gives us this weird box thing. We're going to move the center of that up by 0.5. Change the height of it by 0.5. And then just make the X and Y large enough that it'll cover our entire building. And what that does is it selects these middle points and puts them in a group. Which means that down here we can do a copy to points. Plug it in right here. Plug this in here. Oops. It's in here. And this in here. And then on the copy to points, we need to select the target points to be the window placement. And that is super strange. Oh, it's because of this. I actually didn't want to do that on this part of geometry, I guess. Heavens. Okay, so now when we look at that, that puts the boxes where our windows will go. We then do a boolean and put our boxes here and connect it to our merge here. We're going to do a subtract, and we're going to subtract B from A. Nope, A from B. Don't know why it's doing that. Yeah. Random triangle thing is super strange. Let's see if I just change my spacing on this or something with that. don't know why that did that. So actually what I'm going to do, instead of doing it from that merge, I'm going to do it from the poly extrude up here. And that works fine. Yeah, that'll be fine. And so then you can go and make your windows look however you want. You just do any of those edits before the copy to points. Bevel it, and that'll look weird and whatever. Okay, so now I have this building with these weird octagon windows and stuff, which is fine. Don't do that. Do your own thing and make it look better, but this is what we're going to do. Now, if we add a copy and transform node underneath here, and do the translate as y a +1 in y, because that's what we did our height as. We'll be able to take this total number and just scale it to however many floors we want to have. And that gives you that element of control. So anything that if you wanted to add like a trim to the bottom or something like that, you would just have that branched off to the side and not feeding into your copy, which is pretty easy. I did some of my stuff up here by adding like another poly extrude and just branching it off at this point, and like having it come out and up and giving it a little lip or something down at the bottom here. That kind of looks like crap, but you get the idea. And then just whatever you do off to the side, you just want to make sure that you merge it back into your geometry after the copy. So yeah, now we have this stupid looking edge thing down here. But that's just kind of an important thing on understanding how the workflow goes, is that anything that you don't want to duplicate as you're changing the floors, you do off to the side and then merge it after you do the floor copy. Because otherwise, if we were to have it go through here, and then we were to scale it up, we have this stupid looking floor trim going up, which for this instance is not what we want. I did a kind of a trim on the top, and I did duplicate that so it was on every floor. You just need to be aware of what you're doing. This looks really dumb, so I'm just going to delete it outright. But so there we have that. Now we're going to build a roof piece. Which I'm actually going to copy from this curve up here. So I'll just do poly extrude off of our convert node. Where's it bugging me? And we'll have this go up like, I don't know, we'll do it like half the size. And have it inset kind of like this. Kind of looks dumb, but I don't care. And then we'll bevel it just because I like to do that. Oh, that looks great, doesn't it? Let's not do that. Oh, I just wanted to bevel the top edge. That's why that looks so dumb. So we bevel. Oh, shut up. Okay, so I have to type in the bevel out here where my selection is for it to give me the information automatically. Just kind of a dumb thing that I forget a lot. And then I want to round this. Let's see if it keeps on. I don't know why it's doing that, so I'm just going to. I wonder if it's because this needs to output back as well. Nope, it isn't working. I'm not going to worry about it right now. It's not worth it. Okay, so now, in order for us to put the roof where the roof goes, we're going to add a transform node. Put it in there. And then we're going to come down and take our copy node and copy the parameter on the total number. And then on translate y, delete the 0, paste relative references, and then we're going to add 1. And that puts it up where the roof is. And so what all that does, since the height of my floor was 1, I could copy that straight across. It's weird. Maybe looks like it's floating there. I'm going to merge it in and see what that looks like. Okay. So I'm going to delete the +1 on this. And that'll put that right on the roof, which is it just wasn't me thinking very clearly, because there's not a 0 copy. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There it is. And if I was to go into the copy number and change that to 4, whatever, the 10, my roof stays as a roof. So that's really like the basics of what you need to know, and then everything else you'll just add on your own. And just make sure that anything that you add to either the roof or like this base area is off to the side and merged in after your copies. So it's not duplicated up every time. Also, one thing that I didn't do, but what I probably should have, is here. I probably should have just selected this to be group 1, and I should have actually just named this something. Just put Windows group. Oh, and that broke everything because now it's not referencing anything, but that's weird. Huh. I'll just do that real fast. Group range. Name it window group. I think 1 of 3 was what we were doing it. Plug the extrude in and this into here. Oh, this needs to be. They're all fixed. Around it. There we go. Yeah, just make sure to update any of your procedural stuff with the changes. So yeah, you can just end up playing with that however you want and adding whatever geometry off to the side to build that up however you want. So I think that should give you a pretty good starting point to kind of understand what you're doing. Let me know if you have any questions. And I will see you guys later.